Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to clean your chain and your sprocket. And as you guys can see on my bike, that my chain and sprocket are pretty much black. Now I do apologize for the glare from the sun. It's pretty annoying. I didn't realize that happened until after the video, so that is my mistake, guys. But here we have some kerosene. Now kerosene is a really great dissolvent that you can use on your bike, and you just really want to spin your tire around and make sure that your bike's up on a jack. There's all kinds of different jacks that you can use. I'm actually using a Skylift. It works out really well for me, but just make sure the bike's in neutral, and you can just spin the rear tire around as you're spraying that kerosene. And what you're going to notice at the bottom there is that you're getting all that black goo, and kerosene is really awesome really for any chain out there, but especially for the newer chains, because on the newer bikes, even a 2006 model like mine, they have O-rings, rubber O-rings that are actually in the chain, and that kerosene won't eat away at those O-rings. It actually will clean all the gunk out really well, and you just want to spray all around it, get it all cleaned up. And as you guys can see, just from spraying the kerosene on the bike, that chain and sprocket are already getting a whole lot cleaner. They're looking a lot better than what they actually did before, and this is just a nice little slow process. It really doesn't take that long to clean your chain. Just keep spraying and spraying and spraying. Just let all that gunk fall to the ground. Oh, it's nasty stuff, but it looks almost like a new chain already. I really wish I would have had something that would have blocked that glare, because again, guys, I do apologize for that. That's my bad, right? Still getting used to, making these videos or doing these motorbike video or motorcycle videos, my bad. So we're going to get ready to do the next step. Now, the next step is we're going to use a plastic bristle brush. Now, the reason you want to use plastic, especially on these newer chains, is from what I said earlier, and that is because there's O-rings, rubber O-rings in the chain. On the old chains, they're just solid steel. So you can use a brass brush if you choose to do so. But on these newer chains, these chains that have rubber O-rings within them, you want to use a plastic bristle brush, because that won't damage any of the O-rings in the chain. It'll keep everything nice and clean, and you still clean it up. And you just notice I'm scrubbing the side. There's actually a better brush that you can use. I'll probably need to purchase one later on. I'll probably post a picture up here on the video for you, because it actually is a lot easier to use, and it probably could save you a little bit of time as far as clean your chain. But I don't mind a little extra time. I like working on my bike. I like, playing around with things on it. So it really doesn't bother me too much. But I'm just making sure that I'm doing from the sides, going from the top, going from all sides of the chain to get it all cleaned up as I'm spinning that rear tire. Getting it all nice and spiky, sparky, getting it nice and pretty. As much as I can. And again, you don't want to use a steel brush or a brass brush when you're doing these particular chains because of those O-rings. Make sure you do use a plastic bristle brush. So we're going to go ahead and try to get the other side. And as you can see here now, guys, now since I'm actually in the way, you get a much better look at the chain. It's looking a lot better. You can see exactly more of what's going on. I wish I would have done this the whole video. This would have looked so much better. But boy, she looking a lot nicer than what she did before. And yeah, just scrub it up, get it all cleaned up as much as you can. And then I'll show you guys the next step. So what I like to do after that is do one more kerosene rub. Go ahead and spray some kerosene around that chain one more time. Spin the rear tire. Make sure you get the kerosene all around it. Now, you don't have to do this. You can actually do the kerosene once if you choose to do so, but it's been a good while since my chain actually got clean. So I'm just doing a really extra thorough cleaning with it to make sure I get her all nice and sparkly. And now what we're going to be using is some shop towels. Now you can use a regular rag, you can use microfiber towels if you choose to do so, but I'm just going to go ahead and use shop towels because these things are disposable. You don't have to wash anything, you don't have to clean anything. So it's just a lot easier to use these things. The only bad thing about these is that they can scrub off on the chain. So you want to make sure you don't press too tightly whenever you're spinning the chain around while you're holding your shop towel. So I just gently rub it across there a little bit as I'm spinning the rear tire. You want to get as much kerosene off of the chain as you can. So it's pretty much the same process. Just make sure you get all three sides, get the top, and just rub a dub. You can even really just hold your hand in one spot, but make sure you have a loose grip when you're doing this. And a lot of people would actually tell you to actually do this when underneath the swing arm of the bike instead of actually on the sprocket. But I've done this quite a few times. I'm pretty comfortable doing it this way, and I just have a really loose grip. That way, if by some miracle the chain did actually grab the shop towel, my finger wouldn't get caught in there. And you can see all that gunk we're getting off of there. We're trying to get her as nice and clean as possible. I'm going ahead and wiping down my sprocket a little bit. And man, you just see a huge, huge difference. It's really amazing what just some kerosene and a little, grease will do for you. So now we're going to be using just some soap and water, right? And it's pretty much the same process as what we did with the kerosene earlier. It's good to have a couple of little spray bottles to do this with, makes things a lot easier. But really you're just spraying inside and out of that chain, just get on the sides of it, make sure you get on top of it, make sure you get behind it. And we're really just trying to make sure we get all that kerosene cleaned off. It's always good to wipe it down before you do this because it's more difficult to get all that kerosene out if you leave it in and you don't wipe it down. So that's why we wiped it down a while ago. And we just want to get all that soap in there and then pretty much just repeat the process as what I did earlier. So now I'm just going to go ahead and use a microfiber towel. You could just use a shop towel instead, but I went ahead and just thought I'd show you guys that you can just go ahead and use a microfiber towel. It's pretty much the same method. And again, guys, it's really safer probably just to go ahead and wipe the chain from the bottom underneath the swing arm. Just put your rag around the chain where it's out in the open, and you can just spin the tire around and just the chain will just spin or run through your rag or your microfiber towel or your shop towel. But again, I choose to do it this way because I really just kind of keep a fairly loose grip. I don't really try to grip too tight at all. Really just got my palms on the back of the chain and just kind of letting the side of the rags just kind of hang there and grab. But it's really the chain so tight around the sprocket that it shouldn't catch in there. It really never does, for me at least. As long as you're careful, you'll be fine and it won't catch in there. You just want to make sure that whenever you're doing it, you're doing the back side of the sprocket like what I was doing. Don't put it up in front or up in front of the sprocket because your rag or whatever you're using get caught between your sprocket and your chain, and that could, potentially actually grab your finger, and well, that could be a little bit of a bad day for you. And also make sure that you're never doing this when your bike is actually running. So we're just going to really make sure we get it cleaned up. I'm actually cleaning off my rim a little bit, with some soap here, soap and water, just because I had some kerosene on there and had a little gunk on there. Just want to get that all cleaned off and make sure that's nice and pretty. I don't want, I got all my stickers on there, so I don't want any of that stuff sitting, even though I'm probably going to end up replacing those stickers anyway later down the road. But we're going to go ahead and finish this up and then move on to the next step. Now, after you've wiped down your chain from putting soap and water on, you make sure you got it fairly dry. Let it sit for about 30 minutes to an hour out in the sun or in somewhere hot, and make sure it's really good and dry before you apply your chain lube. Now, I'm using this Lucas chain lube. This is kind of like a wax lube that actually will stick to your chain, and you really just want to spray around the center, around the sides, on both sides of the chain, just like what we did with the water and the kerosene, and that stuff just really comes pouring out, guys. And I'm really just spinning it, making sure that it's in the center of it. It's pretty messy stuff, but it'll dissolve really, really quickly, and it'll get in that chain very nice. It's also a nice little tip that, you should, well, you don't have to, but a lot of people recommend to go out and ride your bike for about 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so. Get that chain good and hot before you do all this, and you'll find that cleaning it and your wax or your chain lube will actually stick a lot better to the chain. I actually did that myself before I started doing this. I actually rode it for about 20 minutes and then I parked it and I started started cleaning my chain. But you can see that I'm just spraying all around it, making sure we're getting all up in that thing. And we're going to go to the other side of the chain and start spraying there as well. It's a little bit more of a pain whenever you got the rim in the way. That's something I like about having a 3-spoke rim, is that there's a lot of area where I can get in there and kind of spray it around. It's a little bit more tedious, but you really do want to make sure you get it all around, because this is what's going to protect your chain and keep it from wearing down so quickly. There's a lot of things you have to take into account when it comes to chains and sprockets, but when you're cleaning them, you really do want to make sure you do a really good thorough job. And you should do this about every 500 miles. Sometimes people do this every week. It really just depends on how much you ride. But if you're putting about 500 miles on your bike, that's when you should actually be cleaning your chain. You really should be doing it quite often. Some people just do it once a week. Some people might do it once a month. Again, it really just depends on how often you ride your bike. Now, we actually put a lot of chain lube on that chain. So what we essentially want to do now is we want to wipe it down a little bit again. I'm going to go ahead and use a microfiber towel. Now, again, you can use a rag, you can use a shop towel. It really doesn't matter, but I'm just going to go ahead and use that brand new microfiber towel just to go ahead and clean it up. So again, I'm just doing the same method, right? I mean, you'll just notice that this is just a rinse and repeat thing that we're doing here, right? You start off with your kerosene, you spray it down with your kerosene, spinning it around, getting that kerosene all over the chain. Then you take a rag or microfiber towel, shop towel, wipe it all down as you spin it around. And then, try to get it as dry down as much as you can. And then you would switch to soap and water, repeat this whole process. And then after that, you'll use chain lube and repeat the whole process, right? You don't want to wipe it spit clean. You want to make sure that a lot of that chain lube is still on there. Don't get too crazy, right? I'm actually just kind of cleaning my rim a little bit because I got a lot of excess chain lube and stuff lying around all around the back of it. And actually, I ended up washing that rim later on to make sure it's good and clean. But once you apply your chain lube, once you get your chain lube or your wax on there, then you just want to go ahead and make sure you let the bike sit for a good hour or so before you ride it. I actually let my bike just sit all night to make sure that wax really sticks to that chain. And I like to use wax because it doesn't fling near as much whenever you're riding. But man, that thing looks so sharp, so beautiful. So hopefully this will help somebody out there as far as trying to clean your chains. And remember, a lot of people like to do this in different methods. They like to go about this in different ways. This is the way that I like to do it. So let me know how you like to clean your chain, or if this helped you out in cleaning yours. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody. Take care.